Hey, what's up, guys? I forget, I never went over the British Wargaming Magazine. Although, like, one of my watchers made a good point. At this point, there's a lot of crossover. He brought up the, what are they called? There's an American company that makes miniatures for wargaming, and of course, there's British Wargamers doing the hexagons and the counters also. Like that Mike Lambo guy made a bunch of solitaire games. The book ones, the ones that you photocopy things out of. So there's a lot of crossover, but in terms of the style, obviously this is a British magazine. I'm going through it. You're just admiring the work. I mean, the handiwork, the detail. I mean, even the things that you put the soldiers and the figurines on, the bases. Right? Look at the detail in terms of like the terrain. Look at this. I mean, you could really go down the rabbit hole, as they say, with this hobby. And I was at a hobby store the other day, looking at like models and whatnot. This stuff ain't cheap. Definitely ain't cheap. That's why, like I said, James has a good. We're gonna develop that system more, where you can have items that you use to do this. Like for example, this game's interesting about the Japanese Warring States period in the 16th to 17th century. They mention, pretty much the rules. You have who can move. Cavalry can move more. You roll the dice. The more firepower you have, the more opportunities the dice rolls give you. Right. It's interesting. They actually have the idea of earth, water, fire, wood, and wind in this, in terms of as combat elements, almost like what I guess I hate to what is that show? It's actually a good show. Back in the day, Avatar, right? The elements, or five element ninjas, the older dudes, how the different forces they have like an element strength. Right? Each element is able to trump one of the others, right? Remember the mystery of chess boxing film? Remember? Let's see what. But Earth can defeat water. Anyway, you probably don't remember that, but that was way before Avatar. Under the microscope, I like the expansive opportunities where you can bring other Asians into this. Obviously, at this point, we got the firearms going, right? Like that movie Ran, Kurosawa's Ran, the combat scenes in that. And you have here the Korean troops, right? And of course, when you're facing the Koreans, you're facing also the Mings, right? The Ming Chinese seasoned in battle with a command system plagued by infighting and bureaucracy, right? Yes. And it doesn't end there. Look, you go to Siam, you go to Thailand, right? You go to Burma, right? You got also Ronin, you got Christian Japanese, you got the Filipinos and the Spanish forces. Remember Legazpi? Remember they did a number on the Japs to try to raid them. Of course, the Filipino warriors are expert ambushers, and the Spanish have plenty of firearms and are badasses themselves. So it's interesting how, as an example of this kind of game, okay, and of course the figurines. Of course, the interesting thing about this, and I noticed with the American style wargaming, there's definitely like more strict rules, I guess, but pretty much like the figurines here is such a part of the thing that you can follow rules that other people print, but a lot of guys make their own rules. Okay, I mean, there's only in terms of like skirmishing, right? It seems like there's a lot more flexibility with this style of war gaming. So look at this. Look how cool this stuff is. I remember this comic. This was one of the 2000 AD comics. They made some good hard sci-fi stuff. I remember that. But anyway, that's later. So just looking at the cool, look at these. Oh, these come like this, you gotta paint them. So I'm lazy. I wouldn't mind sometimes. I actually saw that at the hobby store the other day. I actually saw die-cast already made, SU-152s and different tanks. Boy, I would like those. But don't take them out of the box. No, I would take them out of the box. Come on. No, so example, like, so you have, this is the British style wargaming thing, and you actually see this in some, I've seen wargaming places, of course, unfortunately, right, the diminishing number of hobby stores and shrinking recruitment for our hobby. Once again, we gotta go to demographics. Yes, you need certain people. I'm not saying that obviously people of different backgrounds can enjoy this, but it's not gonna be a lot, my friend, and it's not even gonna be a lot generationally, too. The patience of dealing with this thing, but like I said, demographics are kind of dooming this. It's one of the themes I have. This is something about scenarios, right? Lots of maps are available online or in Osprey books. Once again, always this Osprey connection. Damn Yankees! Look at these, man. Look at the, and they have these set up. Like I said, some of these articles have setups and specific rules you can use, but pretty much you can make your own. I mean, these guys are probably masters of it. And also, talking about the last, right, when the Templars got beat right at the end here, right? The Mamluks, right, the Turkish rulers of Egypt. That was interesting here, though, right? The Templar compound from the last fallback position for the Frankish capital, right? Men, women, and children, more than 10,000 persons sought refuge there. Negotiations for surrender took place in bad blood and with bad grace. 400 cavalry was sent to the compound to guard the Mamluk negotiators, but exhilarated by victory, their discipline broke down. They began to assaulting young boys and women in the fortress. Provoked beyond endurance, the defenders turned on the Muslim troops and massacred them. That was it for discussions, right? And the Templar Marshal went out to try to negotiate again, but they were all bound and beheaded. So that was it for talking. And of course, these guys have no chance, but man, they put a friggin' fight in there. So this is where the history part of this comes out. What I like about this is unfortunately maybe is a problem I have. I like to tie a lot of things together, from history-wise, event-wise, everything. Maybe people think too much, but this hobby really does that. I like this too, right? The mutually destroyed destruction. The Fatah collapsed, crushed more than 2,000 mounted Turks. Yeah, motherfuckers. Anyway, so meanwhile, the Templars, like the Crusades, they shouldn't have been there. Yeah, that's it. Right, the Templars, for the supposed fanaticism, had long-term connections with all the local Muslim powers, not just the Muslim powers, had a more sensitive understanding of cultural nuances than most Crusaders. Yeah, well, it didn't help them, but you get what I'm saying, obviously. But the Templars really get done in later in Europe. Greek fire, right? They inherited this from the Byzantines, hand grenades, so you can imagine. So, I like this, In terms of the outcome, remember the victory conditions. Well, what kind of victory conditions are you going to have, right? Obviously, it's difficult to play, right? As a definitively competitive game, there can only be one outcome, right? Our victory for the Templars was never a realistic prospect. It's like, hey, I'm gonna beat Cthulhu in this role-playing game. No, you're not. Look at this. I mean, when you see stuff like this, look how impressive this is. Can you imagine playing this game? I can't imagine how many hours it would take to play. But I just don't want to belabor. I just want to get through this. Pretty cool, man. Looks like they're doing it in a warehouse. Nice. ABC Wars. I remember that. That comic was interesting because they were all robots. So it was like all robot characters. That's funny too. What is this? British kids talking about the 80s. The Indian guys yelled at you guys too for looking at the comics and stuff like that. They did that to us also. But yeah, ABC Wars. I want to look that up again. I kind of liked it. There was no human characters in it. You had this dude. I remember this dude was like, oh. Yeah. And I remember Mongrel. I remember this dude with the fucking teeth, bro. What the hell is his name? Rojaws. I remember this faintly. This is like going back to the 80s. Alright, so now, just round it out. It's interesting that the next 3 articles deal with, and 2 of them anyway, the Italians, right, and the frozen fighting retreat. I've mentioned this about the Alpines, right? The Don River battle, Little Saturn. Right, the Soviet offensive was launched on the Italians, and the Alpines, right? These, basically mountain soldiers with almost no heavy weapons held against these Russian attacks. Okay, they were in a good state, right? They held their ground, which is amazing because they didn't have heavy weapons. Right? They did this very well. However, the collapse of the Hungarians to their left and of the Italian division to their right meant by they were surrounded. Right? And this, I mean, there's a good book on this about this the battle on the steppes. I'll go over, but essentially, these light infantrymen had to break out, had to get out, and they ran into this famous thing in the town where the Soviets. It's interesting. I didn't know that the tanks the Soviets had in that town with Lend-Lease Shermans. Thank you, America. Okay, thank you. And the Italians, it was rough, but they finally got a break when I think 3 Sturmgeschützes joined them, right? And they went at it. I remember this battle with the Cossacks. So the Cossacks had sled-mounted machine guns, and the friggin' Alpinis drove them off. These sons of bitches in friggin' 30 below zero. Show you how an Italian fucking dies. Okay? And this battle, and finally, having some German armored vehicles helping them, they managed to take the friggin' place. The hand-to-hand combat, when they had to do the final, after the 3rd time they were repulsed, they just went at it with bayonets. And they drove them out. They drove the Ivan out. And the game, the play style, right? They have pretty much your job. The guy designing the game doesn't give the tables. You can make your own tables, right? But he gives you the general idea of the Italians on the open, the Russians are in a defensive position, and your job is not to take this. Your job is to get the guys through and get the fuck out. So you're not trying to take ground. You're trying to just break through and kill as many motherfuckers as you can. That's right. The victory conditions. If you can get more than 3 units, more than half their full strength off the table edge, then they've won. Right. So, paisans. No one could forget you guys. Well, actually, no. The obscure YouTube channel remembers you, but there's another one, the East Africa campaign, right? The Eritreans. The Italians were really good at having the Eritreans, be pretty good soldiers. What happened? And the Brits, of course, here when they give you a detailed map, and as an example, this guy gives you not tables, but it gives you a little more rules, But like I said, the flexibility is there. Look, they got the victories, right? Of course, the Italians really had no chance, but they made a good account of it. Actually, it didn't. One of the British units broke and ran. Okay, they were inexperienced. I'm not going to jump on the guys, but it was interesting that they didn't. They eventually took the Italians, but there was a lot of learning to be done in East Africa. Of course, I'm always rooting for the Italians. And here they're in Italy. Of course, this is after the surrender, so the Brits are fighting the Fallschirmjägers, Gold, the Green Devils. So, but in terms of the game, although this was I like this story where they find it's not whiskey you cluck, it's brandy, right? It's kind of hey, I wish it was the Fallschirmjägers drinking it, but whatever. So this is just an example of all the detail, right? You see look at the backgrounds alone, the setup here, the miniature work. Like I said, I like miniature work for other things, but look how impressive it is. Look at the friggin' orange trees. Really is amazing. Another sad day more. So the fall of the Byzantines. What is this Operation Icarus? A battle for Iceland that might have been. Did you know that they invaded Iceland during the war? I didn't even know that, and I read up on it. Yeah, they just invaded Iceland. Said, yeah, we're coming in. So in case the Germans, So I'm sure Iceland didn't really have a choice. So once again, they invaded another country, just like they invaded Iran back then. Did they tell you about that? No, why would they? Right, by May 26th, the British forces in Iceland had increased their size. Right, they occupied the place. That was great. Thousands of Canadian soldiers also arrived, and then of course you have Marines there. Look, thousands of U.S. Marines there. Great. What does that tell you? And so we have also more cool things. And of course, this battle didn't happen. The Germans never. There was no reason to friggin' occupy Iceland, except to just scumbag allies. You think everyone's the hero? Yeah. Oh. Rule Britannia. You gotta hold out against these. Oh, you gotta save the world. A better world is coming when we win. Oh. Yeah, I'm being a dick right now. So whatever. I know you guys are cool with that. And another game. This guy gives actually a detailed gameplay, more medieval warfare. So anyway, look at this. I thought that's like something in a spice rack. No, it's something for dioramas. I was talking about dioramas, right? Oh my God, the money you could spend on like the littlest things. Yeah, fucking Yankee scum. Anyway, you're biased. Yeah. Great. Good job, guys.